What's up, everyone? Welcome to the State of the Empire presented by Jack Links. This is the final episode of the season. It is not a happy ending to the season as much as we wanted to. We got third place at the Call of Duty Championships in the playoffs this year. With all of the hardships that we kind of went through this year, roster changes and kind of stuff that went on for us, it was obviously not a terrible result, not one that we wanted. We felt very capable of making it to the finals and have a chance to compete against FaZe and for the championship like we did last year. It just didn't really happen for us this year, and that's kind of how things go sometimes. I mean, Call of Duty, like I've said many times, especially towards the later stage of the year, most teams know how to play the game properly. It really comes down to who's hot on the day, and we showed up a little flat on the Saturday in our matches against FaZe in Toronto. But yeah, let's recap a little bit what happened at CHAMPS. We flew in on the Tuesday, got some practice in on Wednesday. Everything looked a lot better. I kind of talked about in a previous video about Stage 5 and how we weren't really looking that good. We were really looking really good going into the event, but as soon as we got at the event and Stage 5, things just kind of didn't really click for us. There was a lot of kind of misunderstandings as to what we were trying to accomplish on the map. And based on how we had played before, that was incredibly weird for me as a coach because of the fact that we looked so good going to that event, and then at the event itself, we kind of fell flat and just were lost. So the 2 weeks that led to COD Champs, we're really just trying to fix those things and make sure that we don't show up at the event in the same way, in the same fashion, which I feel like we accomplished. We looked really good in our scrims in the days before Champs. Our first two matches went extremely well at Champs. Everyone was kind of clicking on all cylinders. Everyone was doing what they needed to do individually to play well, and we were doing the right things as a team. So as you saw, the first two matches were really well. Obviously, Toronto one was a little close. It was probably the most stressful match of my Call of Duty career because of the fact that we were up 5-2 in the last search, and it went all the way to round 11, and it just every time you see that and the momentum kind of shifts in a way, you get these really bad thoughts and these kind of pessimistic expectations to where you just feel like things are kind of done for your team, which is terrible. I hate it. Trust me, I wish I wasn't that way as a person, but it's just hard when you're not in control of anything going on. It's hard not to think that way, but that's something I'm working on personally to try and fix for myself because it definitely added a lot of stresses to my life. But yeah, no, it was really exciting to see the guys pull through. I mean, that was an incredibly important win for us. That put us in the winners finals against FaZe, which didn't go very well, sadly. FaZe was just, I mean, individually, those guys were just playing at a different level. There's not much else to say. I mean, we made a few mistakes on the Gary hard point that didn't really give us a chance to come back in the match. We had a few kind of moments, like Gary's been a map we've been extremely good at all year. It's a map that we got to scrim FaZe a lot before Champs because of how the bracket worked, just to give you guys an understanding. We only really got to scrim 4 teams going into Champs. So it was Florida, Atlanta FaZe, New York, and Optic were the 4 teams that we got to play because of how the bracket worked. You don't really want to play Minnesota because that's who you play in the first round. You don't want to scrim against Toronto because that's who you potentially play in the second round, and you don't want to play 100 Thieves as well because of if you lose your first match, that's who you play in your second match. So that's kind of how most teams handle their practice going into the Champs. So we got to play a lot against FaZe. I honestly think that we may have lost Gary hardpoint maybe once against them in scrims. Granted, they may have not been showing us their best stuff, and they might have been keeping some strategies for the actual event. But right from the get-go, or even our break-off on the Garrison, we trimmed a few things up on the go, and it just didn't work at all. And I mean, it's just the way it goes sometimes. You make adjustments, and it doesn't work. FaZe was shooting extremely straight. I mean, I can't attest to how well those guys play individually, and they deserve to win. They were the best team all year. There's really nothing to say against that. I felt like we got close and competed, and we were playing at the same level they were playing at certain times. But I mean, they were just kind of a team that just been through it this year. They've been through all the hardships that I feel they didn't go through last year, and which built them to be the team they were and the championship team that are now. So props to them. Congrats to them on winning Champs. From our side, like obviously, like I said, we've been through roster changes this year. We placed pretty decently well through the year. I mean, the only stage that we had issues with is when we went through the roster changes themselves. But in general, I feel like we played to where we should have been, or even maybe a little bit better at times, considering the difficulties we went through. And I'm not saying, like, obviously as a coach and as a person and as champions from last year, regardless of all the changes we went through, I was still expecting to come out on top. Like, it would be wrong for us to not feel that way or think that way because that's what we're here for. And I felt like we did a lot of things that we needed to do. We went through little hardships internally as a team. Even after roster changes, that probably made things a little more difficult to get to where we wanted to be, exactly where we were last year. I talked about a lot in those previous State of the Empire episodes about how last year we went into champs just like knowing that like 100% we're going to win this tournament. I'm not saying we didn't feel confident about our chances to win this year, but it was definitely a little different in that matter. We hadn't won this year, so we hadn't really like built that kind of level of confidence that you need from winning it, that you get from winning a tournament. So there's obviously a lot more kind of question marks as to like, are we capable of doing this, but this is not like, it doesn't feel like a guarantee like it did last year. And this is more insight to like how the mental aspects of goes on behind the scenes that you guys probably don't see every day. But yeah, no, it was incredible. It was super exciting to be a part of Champs this year. Obviously with the fans, we didn't get that last year. The highs and lows of the crowd. And yeah, we played extremely well against Minnesota. I felt like we played pretty good against Toronto. We just didn't really show up with our best stuff against FaZe, and they showed up with their best stuff. And again, props to them on it. And then the losers final against Toronto was just like it's annoying because it's almost like we felt in the loophole of the way the tournament structure is. Obviously, we were playing really well in Respawn, and we proved that against them. We beat them in both hardpoints, although the second hardpoint was a little close, and I'm sure you guys are going to be watching that one over and over again for a while. But realistically, we lost in our first match of the day. We had to kind of sit around for an hour and a half, 2 hours for the next match to be done, which was the Toronto match, which they won. And then we had to play a hot team going into, and that's happened multiple times this year. Not even using that as an excuse, but more so kind of like that's a reality that teams have to deal with this year, which was regardless how good you are to handle that was always difficult. So for us to come out, I couldn't give my team enough props with how strong we came out on the first map. They decided to play Gary against us because they saw FaZe beat us on it. It's a map Toronto was good at as well, but we felt like we were the best Gary team in the game and had an off map against FaZe, so we're extremely happy to see that go through in the series. We mauled them on that. I felt like we played extremely well. But yeah, and then the searches, we decided, we picked standoff, and that was a big map for us. I felt like that was a map that we realistically needed to win to really stand strong in that series, because our control game was very wonky going to champs. It was a lot of like, it's weird in a way because we felt like the game changed a few times this year, and at the times where it changed was kind of weird for us. Like we got to a point where we weren't good at control through the midseason, and we figured it out when Reese joined the team, and then we felt like there was some changes and we didn't really adapt in the best way, I feel like, and we adapted going into champs, and I felt like we gave ourselves to win controls at champs, which was important for us. But yeah, it just didn't happen. Toronto was an extremely good search team. In my opinion, probably the best search team all year. So as a team, they just really understood what to do. On most maps, they're probably the strongest search map pool, I feel like. So they were an extremely hard team to veto against, and we just couldn't adjust. Last thing I'll talk about that match is really the express search. They were basically giving us a B plan and the ability to set up anywhere and everywhere we want on the map, and we still weren't able to kind of adjust to that properly. I think we got a B plan down basically every round, and we were playing it as if they were controlling the map that we weren't kind of taking part of, right? So like they weren't going mid-map, they were just all pushing A, basically, just making sure that they were able to flank and use all the routes to get to B bomb site to defuse properly and take us down, kind of create a pinch around the map. And we just kept pushing at them. We kept being aggressive on their side of the map. We got caught a few times trying to protect our side of the map rather than just control the middle. Like I feel like as a coach, I'm looking back on it and I was like, why didn't we control the middle part of the map? It's obviously hard to do that when you're playing, because like realistically, most teams control their mid part of the map on that map when they give it up. And they don't really retake the way Toronto did, but it's just kind of like, it's almost like a blind counter to where like the way we played it, they were expecting it, and we just weren't able to adjust, and that's the way it goes. To me, that really was kind of what Search was this year. It was really about trying to do things, trying to take parts of the map that the other team wasn't really expecting to, because you didn't really have the utility you had like in the previous years of COD, right? We didn't have smoke grenades this year, we didn't have snipers, so it was very kind of straightforward Search, where the way to beat your opponents by taking the map position that they're not expecting you to take. If you look at just how everyone finished at champs, I feel like there wasn't necessarily any surprises. I feel like all the matches, at least between us, Toronto, and FaZe, are always going to be close. Granted, FaZe just, again, stepped up to the next level of champs and just turned up and won. So hope you guys enjoyed the State of the Empire series this year and the content around it. We will take our learnings and move through as a team and come back in a few weeks from now and understand what's going to make us act differently and win next year, and hopefully put the best chance forward for us to have a chance of being champions again. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys, again, much love for the support all year. I can't attest to it enough. I know a lot of the crowd boos and whatnot. I know some people are just kind of getting along with it, but we see a lot of people with Empire jerseys and people that support us day in, day out. So we much love for you guys, and we appreciate you guys very much. It makes the world go round for us, and it gives us that much more to kind of play for, having you guys behind us. So hope you guys enjoyed us again. Rambo Ray, coach and GM of Dallas Empire. I'm out. Have a good one.